Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable brought to you by First Star Therapy. I'm your host, James Gardner, and this is a platform for the pros, by the pros. Passionate pros, organic dialogue. Let's chat. Thanks for listening. Let's roll.
Hey, guys.
Frosty, there you are, man. How are you?
Hey. Good. How about you?
Good. Good. All right, so let me try and get this. I don't know what happened. Did you go to some alternate universe?
I went to the meeting ID that you sent me on the text message, which is one number off from what this meeting ID is.
There you go.
Now that I look at it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Okay, so I'm just going to ask that I tried to unmute some people, but if you can, just go ahead and mute your mic if you're unmuted. And what we'll do is, just for general purposes before I start with Frosty leading the way, is I'll just ask for, if you have any feedback or anything like that, any questions that you want to get through, just message me if you have access to message me. I think you'll be able to do that. So you can just send me a message in the chat at the bottom. Otherwise, just if you have access to unmute yourself when we have a question period, we'll do that. But let's get going because it's 7:47. So this is like Bahamian time. We're the schedule. I'm gonna try and figure this out. If I hold myself here, yeah. So just before we get started, this is gonna be recorded for the purposes of holding Mike accountable for everything he says from now until the future. In case we solve some major riddle of the athletic training, athletic therapy world, we'll use this as backup for that. So can everybody hear me? Just send me like a thumbs up or like a message in the chat if you can, just so I know that we're okay to start. Okay, a couple people sent a message. That's awesome. So let me start with an intro formally, and then a little bit less formally. And thank you all first and foremost for getting here, for making the time to be here, and to Mike for being the first guest. And I thought it was fitting to start with a baseball person, since he's going to hit leadoff for us. So it might as well be a baseball guy. Mike is entering his third season as an athletic trainer with the Atlanta Braves as the assistant, and his 25th season overall in pro baseball. He spent 22 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays, 6 of which were at the major league level. He is a Calgary native, which is an extra bonus point, and he earned his undergrad degree at UC as a dyno. He's dual certified now, as we've recently learned, in the NATA and the CATA. Okay, so he's been in posts in St. Catharines, Medicine Hat, Alberta, Hagerstown, Maryland, Dunedin, Florida, and has been named an Athletic Trainer of the Year in the Florida State League, I think twice, right, Frosty? Yep. And minor league baseball's Trainer of the Year He's also named medical coordinator for the Toronto Blue Jays, and currently he calls Redcliffe, Alberta, his home in the off season with his wife. So he's done his part in putting his background as his as his logo, as the other day, which is awesome. But on a serious note, Frosty, thank you so much, man. I'm really grateful for you giving up your time and being our first guest here. And the formal intro is volumes as to who Mike is as a therapist and as a practitioner and as an athletic trainer, but it doesn't really speak to him as a human. So I just want to touch on that, Frosty, before we get going. Mike, I've known Mike for a long time. It actually dates back. I interned, and he was the first guy ever to read my resume, I think, when I started interning with the Blue Jays in spring training. But he's a caring guy, compassionate and driven. I'm happy to call him a colleague as well as a friend. This guy is unfazed by virtually anything. We've thrown things at him as trainers, staff, admin, players, throwing stuff at him all the time, both literally and metaphorically, and just unfazed. He would sit in the training room with us as minor league trainers when he was a coordinator for hours on end when the day ended, and then make sure that we were all going out to dinner after that, after spending, umpteen hours together in a day, make sure that we got together at the end of the day and debrief, but also got away from the field and stuff like that. So Frosty, man, I'll turn it over to you just to say hi to everybody. And again, like I'm totally grateful for you being here, man. This is the first time I've done this, and hopefully we can make some inroads with our profession, both here in Canada, or I mean, not in Canada, but for our Canadian colleagues and in the US and the world.
Yeah, of course. No, thanks for having me on here. I think this is pretty cool. The fact that we can have like 30, 40 people on this call, and it's just basically an open forum. I mean, I've been a professional athletic trainer for 25 years, and I have some experiences I can share with you guys if you have any questions. The path I took, whatever the case may be. Just some of the stuff that I've been through, some of the stuff I've seen. Obviously, there'll be some things I can't talk about, but it's always fun to share. And the floor is open. I'm not sure what everybody's backgrounds are. I'm looking at this screen right now, and I've got like 25 people on here, and probably from all over the world, potentially, maybe just all over Canada. I don't know, but just for you guys right now, I'm in Redcliffe. Well, I'm not in Redcliffe. I'm hoping to get to Redcliffe here soon. I'm finishing up my 14 days of quarantine because I was in spring training and had to get out of Florida pretty quick in order to get back to Canada. So I've just been hanging out with my mom here for the last 12 days, and hopefully by Friday I'm going to be able to get home and actually see my wife. So that's where I'm at right now, hanging out in Calgary. Nice balmy -11.
There you go. You're topping what we've got going here, man. That's awesome. So I think, again, like, just to reiterate what we're trying to do here and what we're trying to accomplish is really putting a face and a personality to all that we do. And it's really great to have somebody, although as crappy as the times are, to take you away from what you're used to doing in this time of year. Everybody else gets the benefit from that, and we get to have a little chat and catch up and hopefully get some good dialogue moving forward. So I put together a few questions that we'll get into and go down whatever rabbit hole we feel so inclined to do. And if anybody has any questions, maybe just type them. I think you can do private messages to me. That'll be easier than to everyone, because we just may not be able to get there. So we do have people from all over the world. We have a bunch of people from the Bahamas here. We have a bunch of people from out west in Canada, as well as Ontario, a bunch of students from Sheridan, from York, from Camosun. I don't even know if I said that name right, but you're going to reach a lot of people, man, so just mind your P's and Q's. But really, first and foremost, what have you been up to stay active and engaged in this period of social distancing? I mean, we're all experiencing it. What's your experience been like?
Well, for me personally, I haven't been able to do a whole lot. Started out last week just, walking around the neighborhood and stuff like that. But the restrictions have gotten even tighter since, unfortunately, and kind of been housebound. It's, do what you can in the basement. Just kind of try and get some kind of routine going and do a little bit of exercise if possible. But other than that, unfortunately, I listened to too much of what's been going on in the world, and it's disheartening and it gets to you at times, but I'm hoping to get out of that routine soon and into a much better routine. But it's been tough, and I know everybody's going through it. So I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know there.
Right. What's been required of you with the Braves in terms of your time off? Like your role as an athletic trainer goes obviously beyond the diamond itself, and you have some interaction with admin and personnel and the athletes themselves. But what's been your role, or what's been expected of you in this downtime?
Yeah, so obviously we're not able to have any hands-on with any of the players. Like we were literally told, I think it was a Thursday, we played a game in Lakeland, got on the bus on the way home, and we had a conference call that basically told us that spring training was on hold at that point. No more games. You're still able to work out. By the next afternoon, it was everything is shut down. There's no more workouts. And by, I think, Saturday, we were packing up our training room and getting everything done, getting all of our supplies packed up, everything ready to go and out of there. And since then, we've pretty much had daily contact with all of our players. We had our 40-man roster that was at camp, plus a few more guys than that. So probably about 65 players that we split up among 6 of us. And we've got our players that we have to be in touch with every single day. And that's really what we do. We just kind of touch base through text, through phone calls, through FaceTime, and just kind of make sure that everybody's staying healthy, first of all, that nobody's coming down with the coronavirus and needing some treatment. And fortunately, I can say right now that none of our guys have. But it's a matter of keeping those guys on their normal routines as well. We need to have guys throwing so that if and when we do get started up again, they don't have to build their arms back up. We've got a base there already. So we've given guys programs. They've got some workout programs that they can follow where they don't have to go to a gym. It's stuff they can do from home. Pitchers have their arm care routines that we've given them, and we've tried to come up with some kind of a throwing routine that they can stay on, at least so that when they do get back to our second spring training, that they're going to be ready to jump right in and get going.
Yeah. I think it's not easy for anybody, but you guys have a serious job day in and day out with those athletes, and to stay in touch and all the hands-on stuff that you guys do on a regular basis. It's got to be really difficult. I mean, and you talk about routines and trying to make things routine, and we spend a little bit of time. I spend a little bit of time in baseball. You certainly have spent more, but in terms of routine, it's got to be really tough for those lifers, those baseball lifers, and you're getting on, close to one of those at this point. It's like you're so used to April and February being 8-hour days on the field and in the office and helping guys out. So it's got to be a dramatic shift. And I think part of this whole process for coping and managing is hearing that this is impacting everybody, but there are strategies, to help, somebody like you, somebody in the clinic. So it's not easy, but it's great that you can share sort of some of the things that you're doing to stay in touch with athletes, because I think that'll help some of our practitioners as well as some of the students to stay in contact with people, and also opportunities like this where we can get in contact with people who we haven't been in contact with.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of PTs on staff, and we were fortunate. We only had a couple of guys that had some major injuries going on at spring training, but they've been doing FaceTime workouts and FaceTime rehab with this guy, and just going through their routine with them so that, they'll spend an hour and a half on FaceTime, and it's not ideal, but at least there's some coaching that's going on with that. And, it's hard for everybody, but, it's the way it's got to be done at this point in time.
All right. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to shift gears to probably the most serious question of the night. So everybody should pay attention to this one and write down the answer, because this is going to be a groundbreaker. To your best knowledge or guess, what percentage of the Yankees roster is currently growing beards?
Of the 26-man roster or their 40-man roster?
26-man roster.
26-man roster. I'm going to say probably 20 of them, because they can.
Right on. There you go. This is the thing. So for those that aren't familiar, the Yankees are the most stringent in terms of like what you can and can't have on your face. So that was the question, most serious of the night. A question just popped up. It's a good one. So what advice or guidance for us fourth-year students who are at a standstill as far as certification goes, how would you recommend networking in a time like this when we don't know when we'll certify?
Great question. I know the CATA has already canceled their June exam, I think, and I'm sure that the NATA isn't far behind with their exams. It puts a lot of people in a really unfortunate situation. My wife teaches at the nursing school in Medicine Hat, and she has to do virtual classes with her students, twice a week. But those are people that were doing rotations. They were going in and seeing patients, and everybody that's in that situation right now is completely disadvantaged. And unfortunately, I think the same is going to happen with anybody in the medical field, including athletic therapists and athletic trainers. And, one of the things I could say is just, try and network as best you can throughout the industry. I've been on LinkedIn, and I'll find times where I just go through and I think of all the professional sports teams, and I'm like, all right, I want to find all the NFL athletic trainers right now and send them a message, say, try and join their network. It's LinkedIn is only one option, but for right now, until you can get that certification, you're still limited in what you can do. But even to get those opportunities after the fact, I hate to say it, but I think you're going to be at a disadvantage, and take every opportunity you can to try and get opportunities to intern with teams, to volunteer with teams or clinics or wherever the case may be, even at the school. If it means having to go back for a semester or something, I know it's not ideal, but at least it could give you a little bit of a leg up, I think, as you go into taking that certification exam.
Yeah. I think we're all struggling with these answers. I had a chat with somebody the other day, and I've had the opportunity to work both in baseball and in the CATA's accredited schools. So I worked at York University for a little bit, and it's a good question. I mean, it's a tough one to answer, but I'm right with Frosty on this one, and that's a matter of just networking as best you can. And this is where this platform came for me, is I've sat sort of stagnant in the Bahamas, not really connected for 2 years in terms of the CATA, in terms of my credentials in the past. But this is why this came to fruition. It's like great opportunities to pick the brain and just hear from other people and talk to other people. And while, yes, all the things that we've taken seriously for a long time have been put on hold, exams and money and all these things, like they're all on hold. Yeah. But what's coming to the forefront is this connectedness virtually. So again, like this is a huge opportunity, and we can move forward in terms of connecting this on Wednesdays and Sundays, like we're going to do here with different people, but also beyond this. And I think humanity is just going to move forward with this the best we can. That's all we can do at this point, but don't stay still. Don't stay stagnant. You're not going to be frozen in time. So keep reading, keep learning, keep doing online things. But let's move on here. There are a bunch of questions popping up that I'll try to get to as soon as possible. Some of them I have in my question queued up already. So if we don't get to all the private questions, I can try to connect these questions to Frosty or answer them myself afterward or in the future. So what does a typical day look like for you in spring training? I mean, we talked the other day about routines and what this looks like. So let's say this is a normal spring training day and you're at spring training. And then if you can, just sort of like compare and contrast in season and off season as well as spring training, so we get a realistic picture.
So spring training days can be fairly long once we get into games. Usually up by about 5:15 to the ballpark by 6. Training room opens at 7. So spend that first hour just kind of trying to get stuff done that we can't get done when the players are around. So some paperwork, getting the whirlpools ready, things like that. Breakfast, obviously. We're fortunate in our industry, we get fed a lot, and we get breakfast, lunch provided for us pretty much whenever we're there. So get there by 7 o'clock, players will start trickling in, and we'll do some treatments and get guys ready to go out on the field till about 10. Once they start out on the field, we're out there with them, just kind of keeping an eye on things, making sure that the player does come down with an injury, that we're close by and able to attend to it. Once they're off the field, let's go into when games are going on. So, after batting practice, they get their little bit of downtime, but that's when we ramp back up and have to get guys ready to go and play the game, which usually starts about 1 o'clock. So it's over by about 4. and we're usually trying to get out of there by 5. Sometimes it's closer to 6. So spring training days are usually close to 12-hour days. And, in comparison during the season, we have a meeting at 1:30. Our games start at 7:20 at home. So we're a little bit later than most teams. So we'll start having a meeting about 1:30. That'll take us to 2 o'clock. And that meeting just goes over everything that we need to cover for the day on any of the players, just make sure everybody's up to speed on everything. That includes our strength coaches, our PTs, our athletic trainers. Sometimes we'll conference our doctors in to make sure they know what's going on and get some advice from them. And 2 o'clock, again, players start rolling in, do some pre-batting practice treatments. 4:30 or so, 4:45 we'll hit till 5:45, and then out there on the field for that, and then come back in and ramp back up for pregame. And our slowest time of the game, or slowest time of the day, is usually during the game. So it's kind of when we get to kick back and relax and just kind of watch baseball, which is really can't say there's much more in the world I'd want to be doing, but you get to watch Major League game in a packed stadium from the front row with no obstructions there. It's pretty cool. Those games are usually over. I know ours take about 3.5 hours on average, it seems. So we're usually done off the field by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and hopefully home by midnight. So a little bit shorter days. They're about 10-hour days on average for in season. And then off season, again, just following up with players more than anything. Maybe if I'm lucky, I get about 15, 20 hours a week where I have to actually do work with Braves related stuff. The rest of it's kind of free time. Hopefully get on vacation somewhere.
Yeah, right on. Awesome. I think you characterize it. They're long days for sure, but they're jam packed with a lot of integrated stuff. You guys sound like you have a pretty integrated team in terms of PTs, ATs, athletic trainers, strength and conditioning, and you're working together in a cohabitation, which is awesome to hear. And I think that's part of my experience for sure is trying to eliminate the territorial boundaries between professions and merging as a dynamic unit to help the athletes move forward. Couple questions just popping up on balance and life balance and how to break into baseball. Not to minimize the seriousness of the questions or what they're saying, but what should people expect if they're trying to get into baseball, how to get into baseball, and then how do you balance once you're in baseball? How do you balance your life outside of the line, so to speak?
Yeah, so we'll start with the balance part. I mean, it's tough. I've been married for just over a year now, and we dated for about 4 or 5 years before that. But it's tough to be away as long as I am. And I've got a place down in Atlanta, and we've got our place in Red Cliff, and my wife will come down as much as she can, but she's a teacher at the college there. She's also a nurse at the ICU there. So, her schedule is jam-packed as well, and we really have to try and take advantage of things. We try and see each other at least once a month during the season, and we kind of offset it by me being at home all winter. But, it can be tough on that aspect. There's a lot of travel involved on my end. We're home for a week and then gone for a week or 10 days. And in those 10 days, we might be in 3 different cities and 3 different time zones. And, it takes a toll on you for the year. We've had some PTs that have come in and they go on that first 10-day road trip and they get back and they're absolutely exhausted. And they're just like, I don't know how you guys have done this for 20 years, and it just, I think it does take a little bit of a special breed. Not saying that I'm special, but just having been through it for 20 years and this is my 9th year in the big leagues. And I'll say it now, we get treated pretty good. We're on charter planes and we're in 4 or 5-star hotels, and we have a pretty good way of traveling, but you can't just you still have to figure you're traveling through all these time zones. It takes its toll on when you're playing 162 games in 187 days. You don't get a lot of downtime, but so balance there. I mean, you just have to try and take your free time when you can get it. I like to go walk around the cities where we go and just explore a little bit. But that's as far as the balance part goes. But James, what was the other part of that question?
Just getting into baseball. What
right.
would you recommend?
Yeah. So it's tougher and tougher now. I know that. there were times back when I started, I mean, I wasn't even certified, and I got my certification 2 years in, but it wasn't that big a deal. There weren't any accredited programs. Now, if you don't do an internship in baseball or work in a college baseball program and kind of use that as a stepping stone, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. There's very few openings, and you have to be willing to move to wherever a spring training site might be, or wherever your affiliate could potentially be. And there are opportunities out there. PBATS.com has an internship program that every year they accept resumes, and you say what team you'd like to work with, and hope for the best that you can get an internship with one of the teams that you put down. But I was fortunate when I got started in that I knew some people that knew people at the Blue Jays, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. So it was just, I'd say now the internship route is probably the best way to go if you can get somewhere that'll do an internship. And it doesn't have to be with a major league club. If you're doing an internship with a minor league team, then, it's still considered gaining that baseball experience. And that's really what a lot of people want. And I know it's tough now too. There's a lot of teams that are looking for PT, ATC type degrees, and that's hard now. I know in the US they've gone to a master's program for their athletic therapy. So to try and do a dual PT ATC degree it's really hard to do now. But anything you can do ahead of time to better yourself, whether that's continuing ed, take some courses, Graston, ART, FRS, FRC, some of these courses, if you can get those out of the way before you get looking into a position, then you just make yourself more marketable.
Yeah. And PBATS is great. I mean, PBATS has, they have some online stuff right now. I saw they're doing some live stuff similar to this on Instagram. PBATS has postings all the time in terms of their internships, but it's this conundrum in the field that we work in. Is like, you need experience to get this job, but you need experience in order to get experience. So it's really building, do some stuff with amateurs, do some internships if and when you have the time available to you, and just connect as often as possible with people in the baseball world. It's a big world, but it's also a pretty small world when it comes to the number of teams and the number of actual positions in pro baseball. All right, characteristics that make a strong athletic trainer in baseball, and then like in pro sport that you've come across.
I think you have to have a good sense of humor, first of all. Don't take anything too seriously. There's obviously, you have to be compassionate for your athletes. Some of these guys will suffer life-altering injuries in the course of play, and you have to be compassionate towards that. The ability to be able to work with others. There's a lot of times where you could be the only guy there or the only girl there that's working on a team, but if you start to get into a setting where it's at a school and you've got to report to a head athletic therapist, or with a professional team or another team, a minor league team where you're reporting to a coordinator of some kind, you have to be able to work well with those people. So just being open to different forms of collaboration. You can't be stone-headed and think that your way is the only way. You have to take advice from other people along the way. And like when we have our meetings during the day, our PTs are piping up, our strength coaches have great ideas. And, we're doing a throwing program, and I've done throwing programs for 25 years. And, we'll put them on the whiteboard and we'll go through it 6 times before we get it to where we want it to be. And that's just because we're all kind of coming together and collaborating on what we want to see. So collaboration for me is a big thing, right now. And it's kind of the buzzword in the industry too, but it's a true thing too.
Yeah. This removal of ego and having to be right is a massive undertaking for some people, and myself included as part of my career, and for many people that we've worked together with or that know, putting your ego aside and being willing to accept this open communication and understanding that it's not about being right, it's about getting it right, together and working forward. So some really good questions are coming in, and I'm trying to keep up with them, but let me just go back. There's a couple questions about load management. That was a huge buzzword in Toronto in the NBA season, as you may or may not be aware of. this doctor of load management with the Raptors and Kawhi, and like this is why they won the championship and all these things. In baseball, a couple of questions relate to what you touched on earlier, and that's like modified throwing programs, potentially a second start or a stunted start and then restart. How much and how do you sort of analyze how much is too much or what guys need, at least in the professional world? And again, like I don't want people to understand Major League Baseball as amateur athletes that are 12 and 13. That's not the goal here. We're talking specifically about Major League Baseball players. So try not to apply all of this information in terms of specifics to 12-year-olds. That's not the way it should happen. But your go on terms of, load management and how you would ramp up safely in a regular year and then in something like this.
Yeah, so the NBA does it right, I think. And I think baseball could definitely take a page out of their book in that the NBA allows the teams to use Catapult and, some GPS data tracking systems. And Major League Baseball is falling behind in that aspect in that the Players Association doesn't want that type of data being used. The players feel that if that information gets back to the front office, it can be used against them in contract talks. And so they don't like to have that information available to anybody. So that type of data tracking isn't allowed. There is some standard information that's out there for every club. They have a thing called TrackMan in every stadium, which basically it'll follow how far and how fast a player runs in any given sprint. So we can at least track that. And we'll look into that every day. We get a report from our front office and it tells us, player X had 4 sprints that were 80% of their top speed. Right. And then over the last 4 days, they've had 3 days of 4 or 5 top speed sprints. So we look at that information, like, okay, well, we need to back off on their workload in the weight room, let's say, or, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to give this guy some extra recovery. Maybe he needs a day. We play a lot of games, like I said, in a short period of time, and we don't have the benefit of necessarily giving guys a full day off. In baseball, especially the National League, you're pinch hitting, you're pinch running. You've really got to utilize your entire roster on almost any given day. So we're very cognizant of how much workload a player has had throughout the course of that week or that 2-week span, and we'll go to the manager ahead of time and just let them know, like, hey, so-and-so could use a blow today. They just look like they've been dragging. I know they haven't been sleeping well, and things like that. We'll take all of it into consideration, but we just don't have the ability to track like the NBA does and, sit a star player and not even let them dress out for the game.
Right. So in your opinion, with some of that data, there probably won't be another Cal Ripken ever again in Major League Baseball.
No.
Right? Be safe to say?
No. I think that's gone by the wayside. I think with sports science coming in the way it has, even on the limited amount that it can in baseball, I still think that they're still going to give guys days off as they need it. So.
Right. Hey, this is approaching, I have my little timer right. You can't see, I don't know if you can see it, but it's approaching 38 minutes. But because this is the first one I've done, Zoom sent me a message saying, hey, love this. We're going to remove your 40-minute cap. So if you have a couple minutes, let's keep rolling with this. If you don't, that's perfectly okay too. We did have a 40-minute cap, but, and then otherwise, I don't know, technology. So if it cuts us off at 40, then I apologize in advance, but let's keep rolling with this. I think some of these questions that are rolling in are really relevant, but I think there are some other ones that I just want to touch on in terms of your Canadiana. First of all, most underrated place to eat in Calgary. Can you remember?
Most underrated?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I haven't lived in Calgary in 25 years.
What about the last time you were there? How about that?
I don't know. Like High Steakhouse?
That's a stumper. Yeah. How much Netflix did you crush today? How much?
Well, Tiger King's on, so I got to get through that. I think everybody's on that bandwagon right now.
I heard about this show, but I'm not going there. It's too much. All right. How about the best road city outside? Don't include Toronto. We know that's great, but outside of that.
So whenever anybody asks me what's your favorite city to go to, I always ask them favorite city or favorite stadium. because I think that there's differentiation between the two. And I can tell you, I've got a few favorite stadiums just by looking at them. You're like, man, this place looks awesome. And Kansas City, the way they built theirs up with the big crown scoreboard and the fountains out in center field is pretty cool. Anaheim with the rock pile is pretty cool. I want to really see the new Texas stadium. We were supposed to go there this year, and I don't know that that's going to happen now, but I'd like to get to the new Texas stadium. As far as cities go, I like the walking cities, places where I can go and just take off for, if we have an off day somewhere, like where do I want to go? And I really like Seattle for that. I like Boston for that. I used to like New York, but I've been to New York so many times now, I'm just kind of over it.
New York's going to be a little bit different, I think, after this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, one just came in from a really good friend and colleague of mine as well, and he said, if you were a player, who would be your comparable? Who would you choose in Major League Baseball to be you if you had to choose?
Say that again now?
Yeah, if you were a player, who would be your comparable? Who would be you if you were a player in Major League Baseball? Or who would you want to be? Maybe it's easier.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, we'll not put you on the spot. Think about it. Let it marinate for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm a Donaldson fan still.
Okay. Right
I hate the fact that he left me again and went to Minnesota, but that guy's intensity is unbelievable. He can grind on some people every now and then, but I tell you what, that guy's a player.
Yeah, third time's a charm, man. Maybe you'll come back around. Maybe you'll end up in Minnesota. I think that's where you end up.
Well, let's hope not.
How about a best tip or trick to rehabbing a pitcher or throwing athletes in general versus non-overhead athletes? I mean, I know that you work predominantly with overhead athletes, so it's kind of you still know the human body and you still know non-throwers or non-overhead, but
yeah.
you look at specifically in terms of
that. Don't forget about the entire kinetic chain, because everything will start with your lower half when you're working on a throwing athlete. So they've got to have that base of support. They've got to have a strong core. A lot of times you get a shoulder or an elbow injury and you just kind of focus on that particular area, but the actual cause of that injury could be coming from somewhere down the chain. So, don't forget about the ankle. As minimal as it sounds, if you don't have enough motion in your ankle, it's going to affect you all the way up the entire chain. Same with the knee, same with the hip. These pitchers, they're coming off the mound and they're landing on their front leg and jamming their hip every single time they throw. They could be hyperextending their knee every single time they throw, but all of that's going to affect something in the upper body at some point. So for me, it's don't forget about the lower half and the core if you're rehabbing a shoulder or an elbow injury.
Yeah, right on. There's some really good stuff out there for anybody who's working with throwing athletes, non-throwing, whoever. Just in terms of what's up, Scotty? In terms of shoulder, or in terms of throwing, and in terms of mechanics overall, there's a really good sports chiro out of Waterloo named Dr. Andrew Robb, who's done a lot of stuff with Major League Baseball as well, and Dr. Fleissig and Dr. Andrews down south in terms of like hip relation to UCL injuries in throwers. And all of these things we're starting to find out, like the ankle matters, the hip matters, and then it's just a matter of tying this all together. Frosty, listen, man, we're 3 minutes over the 40-minute mark. I got a message saying that Zoom has made everyone's time unlimited. Time no longer exists, this paradigm that we've created as humans. It no longer exists because of the pandemic. But can you spare 6.5 more minutes? We'll go to 50 minutes.
Cool. Whatever you need, no problem.
Yeah, that's awesome. We could just stay here all night. This is amazing. Again, I appreciate everybody's questions and everybody's time. And Frosty, man, like I think the last time I saw you was in person was 24 rows back behind home plate, but you were in the wrong freaking dugout. You were in the first side, and there was a little thing with Sal and so
right, yeah.
That was the last time. I think 2017, maybe 2018 in person.
It's been 18, yeah.
Yeah. All right, very good. So there's a couple questions here about weighted ball throwing. I know it's a bit of a buzz topic, and because you're with a major league organization, I don't want you to get into any depth of good, bad, or other, so I'll just field this briefly. Weighted ball programs are okay if they're managed the right way and if the weight is managed properly. If you're not throwing a 15-pound ball as hard as you can, these kinds of things, it needs to be done the right way. So it needs to be really, really informed, and that's a really blanket statement. But I would just always exercise with caution. When I presented the CATA conference on throwers, and to some of the third year students at York, I always talk about this, like the stuff that comes very trendy. If it doesn't stick, there's a good reason that it doesn't stick. And weighted ball programs, they became really, really trendy, and then they dropped off, and there's still some people doing them. So just be cautious and just make sure, as a practitioner, you got to make the best decision for the athlete that's in front of you. It works for some, it doesn't work for others. But Frosty, if you have anything general, I don't want to put you on the spot with this just because of your position, but
the thought on it, on the weighted ball programs, is kind of shifting a little bit. I know at the last the baseball injuries in baseball conference put on by Dr. Andrews in January, he was basically saying that weighted ball programs are not good for you. And I think there's a lot of people out there that think they know what they're going to do with the weighted ball. Like maybe a kid's just kind of, seeing some of his buddies doing, he thinks he can just mimic what they've been doing, and it just doesn't work out. And they're seeing a lot more elbow and shoulder injuries because of it. We had a player, and this was it's in the news, so I'm not telling you guys anything that's not already out there, but Cole Hamels, this is a guy who's had a long career. I think he's got 15 years in the big leagues, and decided this offseason that he was going to do weighted balls for whatever reason, and didn't go to any formal kind of training, and he's been hurt ever since. So, we signed this guy to $16 million contract, and he may never even throw a ball for us because he hurt his shoulder doing weighted balls. So, that's just one example. I know there's millions out there that have tried it, and there are guys that are successful. You see guys that velocity goes up 3, 4, 5 miles an hour because of it. But I think if you have an athlete that's interested in it, ask them what their ultimate intention is, and kind of direct them to some reputable places to be able to do a weighted ball program, because there are some out there. But
yeah, there's a lot of good data on that, and to be honest, like, you can find the research on this. It's pretty mainstream and accessible. Weighted ball programs, for me, what it comes down to, especially in the amateur area, is like the amateur realm is like, if you can't prove its worth outweighs its risk, then I'm just throwing it out the window. It doesn't make sense. Kids are kids, and they're still developing. So when you talk about 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you got to think about growth plates, and you're looking at those cocking points with the arm and the mechanic of the elbow and where all that load is going. Then we come back around again to what Frosty touched on earlier in terms of the whole kinetic chain. There's not too many people who are really, really good at repeating a throwing motion and then adding a weighted ball and hoping to maintain that same thing. It's a bit out there for my liking. But we got 3 minutes. So two favorite memories in your career. You have one, maybe even just one that comes to mind. Don't say like Hagerstown, Maryland in 19, whatever it was, because everybody knows about that. Give us something sort of fresh.
There's been a couple. I think the 2015 get the Blue Jays back into the playoffs. Clinching and being able to celebrate and spray champagne and do all that stuff. And we didn't go as far as we wanted to, obviously, but it's the fact that they hadn't been in the playoffs since '93, and we were able to do that in 2015. The Batista bat flip game, we can forget that. And then the following year, the wild card game with Encarnacion hitting the home run in the 11th inning off Ubaldo Jimenez. You got to win to stay in, and we go extra innings, of course, and we walk it off. Those are probably the highlights right now. I've been fortunate enough that, this is my third year with the Braves, and my first 2 years we were in the playoffs as well. And again, we ran into some bad luck, and they've had a pretty bad string of trying to get past the first round of a playoff series. I think 2002 might have been the last time they actually advanced past the first round. So, we're those are some good times. Anyway.
Yeah, man, it's amazing that you got to be a part of those things, and I wonder, man, I just wonder what that felt like for you guys. Like, nobody really knows. I mean, a lot of people on this chat really know, like, what goes into being there for everybody else and having very little time for yourself. Like, it just must feel like this is like the ultimate payout. Is like I get to experience all of these great things. Not to say that getting through a 162 game season with a lot less injuries and a lot of good times along the way, but like experiencing that winning and like those moments in time that are frozen in time for so many people, and you're right there, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. See, there, nothing phases the guy. This is him. He's just like, yeah, it's cool. It's all right. No problem. It was amazing. So I listen, we're cutting down to it. So this is 7 seconds and counting to that 50-minute mark that I said. Listen, Frosty, man, I really appreciate your time and batting leadoff for us. This is amazing. There's a lot of good dialogue, a lot of good questions. There's more people here. Thank you guys for coming than I anticipated. And keep telling people about this. I think we can grow this platform a little bit. We have another baseball guy who Frosty knows really well. These are like a couple of my mentors, and I'm really fortunate to call them friends now. Boone, who's also here, and he's gonna come on Sunday. So just stay tuned with the Instagram chat. I'll stay on here if anybody wants to keep chatting with me. I'm gonna let Frosty go because he's Frosty, and I'll hang out here for another 10 minutes or so with questions. Or if you have some feedback on this or what you want moving forward with these sessions. Frosty, again, man, like I can't thank you enough. I'm truly grateful, and I'm honored to have you here. And in a down time, this is a pretty big pick me up for me and for a lot of people on this chat.
No worries, guys. I appreciate everybody coming in. I appreciate the questions. Good luck along the way. Obviously, you have some way to contact James, and if you want to reach out to me, he's got some contact info for me as well. And I have no problem just trying to help people out, getting started, trying to get their careers going. And, if anybody has anything, just please feel free to reach out whenever.
Awesome, man. Thanks
for putting this on, guards.
All right, man.
Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT@firststartherapy.com. On Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.